Smith.
My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Government Services, Senator Ruston. On Tuesday night, the Minister for Government Services told the ABC's 7:30 program, "Bank records, of course, are always available for 7 years, and the department won't be going back after 7 years in terms of recovering that. Is the government pursuing any debts from prior to 2013-14?
The Minister representing the Minister for Government Services, Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, and I thank the senator for her question. I'll take on notice the specifics in terms of the actual specifics. The Minister for Human Services or Government Services in relation to the recovering of debt that is the overpayment of taxpayers' funds to Australians. So, okay.
Order.
Can I?
Order on my left.
Okay. What I would also say to this chamber, that in many instances, the first thing that happens when it comes to income compliance review, and I hope you understand that, which is when you actually end up with a situation where we seek from somebody who is a recipient of a payment, a taxpayer-funded payment, to them, if there is a discrepancy that is identified between the records that we hold at the Department of Human Services and the records at the ATO, and at the end of a period when we assess that, there is a discrepancy between the two. We will seek a clarification, a discrepancy clarification.
Order. Senator Gallagher.
Mr President, just on relevance, the question is very straightforward. It's whether there's is the government's pursuing any debts from prior to 2013-14. That is the question.
Minister, the Minister has been speaking for a minute. I take the opportunity to remind the Minister of the specific nature of the question. Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much. And I can confirm that the online compliance initiative does not go back past 7 years. But as in response to the question from Senator Smith, as I was saying, when somebody has a discrepancy has been identified between the information that an individual or a family has provided to the Department of Human Services and the ATO, a discrepancy has been identified. We seek clarification from the individual as to whether there is a reason behind why that discrepancy exists. So we do not raise a debt unless it has been formally identified in that process that the person has actually incurred a debt or has received monies of which they weren't entitled. And the very reason that we do this is because the social welfare system in Australia is based on its sustainability into the future, and that means that we provide people and to make sure that people get what they are entitled to receive.
Senator Smith, a supplementary question.
I refer the Minister to 80-year-old Canberra woman Wilma Spence, who this month was hounded for $61.13 dating back to 1995. How many debts is the government pursuing that are more than 7 years old?
Great. Senator Ruston.
Okay. Thank you very much. And whilst, thank you, Mr. President. And whilst I wouldn't normally comment on a particular case, the case for which Senator Smith refers, I can confirm that the Department of Human Services have advised me that they made an error and they have apologised for doing so.
Order. Order on my left. Senator Smith, a final supplementary question.
When will the government finally admit that Robodebt, with its inaccuracies, cruel enforcement measures and a lack of human oversight, has failed?
Senator Ruston.
Look, thank you very much, and I thank the senator for a follow-up question. Going back to my explanation of the process whereby we reconcile discrepancies that are identified with overpayments or potential overpayments, and where the individual has been contacted to explain why the overpayment has been made, that we also, if it is identified through that process that the person either does not have the debt, and this process, by the way, I'd point out, is a human-led review process. If it is identified the person does not have a debt for reasonable reasons, then that person is not pursued. But we have an obligation where overpayments occur to sustain our social welfare system is to make sure that we provide people with the amount of money that they are entitled to receive. That is the basis of the sustainability of our system.